Welcome to the Minor Matters podcast. This is where we get real about what it means to believe, belong, and live freely. This is a conversation on freedom of religion or belief in Sri Lanka and beyond. And I'm your host today. My name is Maheshi. Today, we have with us one of Sri Lanka's most courageous activists, Shreen Saroor. Shreen, welcome. And it's an honor to have you here with us today.
Thank you very much.
So, to start off the conversation, you have been a powerful advocate for the MMDA reforms in Sri Lanka, and you have been working on this for decades. Some of our viewers may not be aware of the struggle around the MMDA reform. And can you help them understand the fundamental problems with this law?
So the Muslim Marriage and Divorce Act in Sri Lanka came primarily to give Muslim men their polygamous right. It was the then colonizers, Dutch, who got it from Batavia, then Indonesia. This law has been reformed everywhere. If you really need the untouched, archaic, the Muslim personal law, it's in Sri Lanka. Even Islamic countries like Malaysia, Indonesia has changed, right? So the reason why we are struggling so much is this particular law is being guarded by the Muslim men. It starts from Jamiatul Ulama, this is the clergy structure, and also the Muslim politicians. Very rarely you see Muslim women coming up to decision-making level and demanding for this struggle. So basically the struggle has been within the community, that is the marginalized women mostly, and the women's rights activists. The issues with Muslim Marriage and Divorce Act is that if it places somebody in superior position, somebody has to be a subordinate. That subordinate happened to be Muslim women. So we don't have right to start with right to sign our marriage certificate. Somebody has given us in marriage, even if you are marrying at the age of 30, somebody has to sign on behalf of us. In the marriage certificate, there is no signature space where you can place your signature as a bride. Then there are many other issues, but I will talk about main ones. The marriage registration is not compulsory, which means men can marry not only 4 times, as many as times they want, because there is no registration as such. It's not compulsory. They can register or not register. Then there are multiple forms of divorce. There is good thing about the MMDA is the mutual divorce thing. But apart from that, the talaq and the fasa divorce. Talaq is the divorce that men seek. Fasa is women. It's highly discriminatory that men can easily get divorced, women cannot. Then the age of marriage is a huge problem. In Sri Lanka, all the other children or the children are like the women can marry up above 18. Child marriage is only allowed within the Muslim personal law because it doesn't have age limit. Technically, a newborn baby can be married off, right, with the Qazi's permission. Then the administrative structure of the Muslim personal law is top to bottom, it's men. So the Qazi in all these places where like we have 64 Qazis and the board of Qazis, all are men. So in that context, it is so male dominant that there is a lot of discrimination. Say for example, if a woman is getting divorced, if she needs maintenance, if she initiates divorce, there is meager maintenance even for children. Sometimes Qazi decides 7,000, 5,000 and all. Now this cost of living that we are living in, a woman, single woman, probably she would have been married off at the age of 18 without higher studies and all, no skills whatsoever. And she has to manage the child with that 5,000 or 7,000. It is extremely difficult to increase that maintenance. And there is no alimony in the structure. So the woman does not get any fair deal. And basically, men are allowed to marry as many times as possible, leave the children with the women and go and find another new wife. So this has been a problem. So that's the structurally is also a problem. Law itself is also a problem. So we have been articulating for reform for the last 2 decades, my senior activists to us and the younger generation, and the men in parliament and also on Jamiatul Ulama would come and engage, but somehow may make it a point that the current law the reform go backward, not even forward. So with the current government, we are trying our level best. We have now 22 women in parliament. And it's all women's responsibility, because protecting children in this country is every parliamentarian's responsibility, not Muslim parliamentarian only. And also to make sure that women live fairly in this country is also every woman's responsibility. So the women parliamentarians are taking initiative, and we are helping them in whatever possible way to move forward on these reform issues.
For some of our viewers, it might even be shocking to hear, especially about the child marriages. And as a woman, you have worked a lot in a lot of projects. You have been signing so many contracts, $1 million contracts, but you are not allowed to sign your own marriage certificate. That's quite shocking to hear in this age and day. Shreen, you have successfully been able to sign your marriage certificate. Could you share with us how you managed to do it?
So it's very long time ago, 1999, when I married. I realized that I was in charge of an international organization where I signed multi-dollar contracts and all. I had my car, so I signed the contract for lease agreement. I had my house, which I purchased on my own, and I signed the contract for that also. But my marriage, somebody said, no, you have to get your brothers to sign. I have younger brothers. I said, no way. Unless I sign, I'm not getting married. It was not easy. My marriage was delayed for 2 hours because the first registrar refused to allow me to sign. I also said nobody is going to countersign, validating my signature. It has to be me. So they couldn't find a space because it says bride, groom. Instead of bride, underneath it says wali. Wali means somebody who has to give me in marriage. My father or my brother or my father's brothers. My father passed away a long time ago. So my brothers said no way that we will sign because she has to sign. And then nobody also came forward. So then it got delayed and they have to find a registrar who could register my marriage. And after that, they came and said, you have to now convert from Shafi to Hanafi. And I asked, what does it mean? He said, you have to just pronounce yourself now. Shafi, Hanafi, Hanafi, Hanafi. And then you sign. So I did that. And then that column, they have written saying, bride converted from Shafi to Hanafi. And then I signed it. Very interestingly, when one of the Olsilon Jamiatul Ulama clergymen looked at my marriage certificate, he said, I've been living in sin because this marriage is not valid. I don't care about what they say, what they interpret. But it's very interesting. And Islam is such a flexible religion. Now, many of us know, I don't know whether you people know, the audience, when the Muslims go for Hajj, that's one of our vital duty that we have to perform, that at the airport, we say we are converting from Shafi to Hanafi. Because the Hanafi sect is so flexible. So that if you are touched by somebody like unknown people, usually your rituals that you have performed and you have to start from the scratch because of the nature of ritual. You know, those performances are very secretive, right? So what then they pronounce that they are converting from Shafi to Hanafi, so that the flexibility of religious rituals and duties become acceptable in that context. So if we can do, all men and women can do, in order to perform a compulsory duty by making a kind of a very flexible law, why can't they do this with marriage is a question. So it is all about very strict interpretation of Quran and also very strictly boxing the Sri Lankan Muslim into Shafi sect, which is very strict interpretation of Quran. It's done by Olsilon Jamiatul Ulama, and that's why we are struggling.
we know that you were able to sign your marriage certificate, right? Some of our viewers might wonder, okay, why can't I do this? How do I do this? I know that practically it's not possible for every Muslim girl out there to do it. Can you tell us the struggle behind those Muslim women who can't do that for themselves?
So I think since 1999, lots of women have somehow struggled and signed. But very interestingly, I know that they can't sign alone. What they are doing is they are signing, and their parent, father or brother or somebody, a male relative, is also signing by the side of the bride's signature. It's basically validating. It's basically treat us like children, that our signature need to be validated, which is highly problematic. But still, that is a step forward, that many women are standing up now saying that we need a register who would allow us to sign. And there are few register, and also there are Hanafi sect register who is also allowing. So now proactively our young women are searching for Hanafi sect register who would allow this signature, or some moderate registers who look at things differently. But it's not easy, because you are standing up to your own family members, particularly the patriarchal power, your father, who wants to give you in marriage. And for them, it's honor giving a girl in marriage. And this whole signature thing is very interestingly comes from a Hindu culture where the father keeps the daughter on the lap and give it to the husband, like handing over, like an object, a pure object is being handed over to one man to another man. That is what is being done. Islam does not do that kind of a thing. So you need courage to talk to your parents and say that I'm an adult and I need to decide on my own with regard to my marriage. This is my rest of my life that I'm going to spend with the man. And marriage is a contract. Islam says marriage is a contract. So in order for contract to be valid, the person who entered the contract should sign. So I think younger women who are about to get married should negotiate and see with your partner and also your future partner and your family whether they would allow you to sign.
Also, one might wonder, like you said, these the conversations have been going on for 2 decades. That's almost our entire lifetimes. So resistance, why do we see this pushback from the community and also the lawmakers? They clearly see the problem. Why is there such resistance?
So it's a 4 decade, and many of the senior members have negotiated within the community. The first 2 decades has been trying to see whether we can make our community men understand this. And thereafter, some of us, when we entered the space, we said, no, this is a state responsibility. State is funding the structure. State is in charge of reforming laws. So it is a state responsibility. Actually, Qazis are appointed by Judicial Service Commission, right? So in that context, and they are paid using taxpayers' money. So we are responsible. If you are having an indiscriminatory structure, the structure itself is flawed, it is clearly discriminating women and children, then it's state responsibility. Then only we started talking and reaching out to the state and the larger structures and other rights activists in the country. And we also went to CEDAW. And very interestingly, now the younger generation of people are on the Facebook, social media, everywhere they are speaking. And this is more effective way of spreading, because lots of young men have started rethinking about what they understood as Muslim Marriage and Divorce Act. They thought it is something that God given, and they realized it. No, this is man-made, and this is made for the convenience of men to have polygamous marriage, and therefore we need to rethink about it. Lots of Islamic countries have reformed. Tunisia has abolished polygamy. Morocco has very strict condition. Saudi Arabia's age of marriage is 18. Many of the Muslim countries' age of marriage is 21. And why are we grappling with this issue for such a long time? So now the younger people have moved forward, and I feel pretty soon we will see some change.
That's wonderful to hear. The light of hope, I think, is so important in this struggle. Also, in a way, you could say that when you give a child out in marriage at such a young age, you also take away their right to education, their right to health, all of that. And considering all of these violations of other rights that a person usually would have, it's surprising to hear that these reforms, these mandatory reforms, have taken so long to happen. So, Shreen, and to you and all the activists, I think y'all are doing a marvelous job hanging in there and pushing forward. So well done to y'all. Also, moving a little away from the MMDA, in general, what are some of the gendered dimensions in terms of FoRB violations that you have come across in the work you do?
I have done some research and recent past. Some of the stuff, even I hit, I'm kind of like shocked that Sri Lanka is still grappling with the ethnic conflict that we had. We have committed a war crime in this country. We are still trying to come out of it. But now we have a religious conflict. And we have interreligious conflict and inter-religious conflict. So in that context, women are paying heavy price. Say, for example, Hindutva. Now, in the eastern province and the north, we see RSS from the neighboring countries spilling in. So some of my Hindu sisters are saying some of the rituals that they perform, which are more secular and also more involving women, is distancing women. Okay. Right? There are new constraints for women to perform their religious rituals and all those things, or participating equally with men on various rituals, right? And then I also see religious leaders in this country becoming very conservative, fundamentalist, and interreligious conflict is also something that we need to rethink about it. Within the Muslim communities also, there are various sections of the Islam that is like bringing in various restriction on women and women's space and all those things. Then also like with regard to freedom of religion or belief, it is also interesting that because certain religions are becoming aggressive in this country, they are targeting the religious women. Particularly Muslim women have been in the center of the anti-Muslim sentiment by the singular state and Buddhist monks, starting from their attire, their movement, their examination, entry to their examination, school entry, their mobility basically. And then various laws have been abused against men and women in this country. And particularly when men are incarcerated, it's the women who paid the heavy price. After the Easter attack, 4,000 odd Muslims have been arrested. And then we had 300 odd people framed under PTA, including women and children. And it was huge pressure on the Muslim women to go and negotiate with various oppressive state structures, which they are very unfamiliar with. And then I also see the minority religions like Christian religion, particularly certain section of Christianity being targeted by state. Conversion has been an issue that for both Muslim religious people and Christian people are being accused of converting people, and particularly women. So they use marriage as an example. So if somebody has fallen in love with another community, religious community person, the woman undergoes huge amount of pressure that I see it's increasing. Community is very intolerant. It's extremely difficult to register marriage that are involving two different religions. And also my recent research has been on female genital mutilation. People say it's not happening in Sri Lanka. It's happening in the name of Islam. It's nothing to do with Islam. This is a cultural practice that has been in the country for some time. We thought because of education, because of other way of health, advancement of health issues, in this country. I thought we all thought that this would have gone away, but what the finding of my research, our research is basically it is getting medicalized, and medical doctors are performing female genital mutilation. The most often this sunat is performed on female child within the first day of birth to 40 days. But within Bora community, it is up to age 8. And the Bora leader insists that FGM, female genital cut, is compulsory. And some of the people that we interviewed remember these terrifying processes. It's not bad as the African context, but a prick or a cut, we don't know who is doing, how they are doing and all. It can damage nerve system. So, and apart from that, I also see in the current context, any law reform that we articulate, whether it's conditional abortion, LGBTQ rights, decriminalizing, or even reforming laws with regard to rape or age of consent, or even sex education in the schools, I see religious clergymen opposing it. And I don't know. I mean, I find it very difficult because we are in a world that's moving very fast, and we need to talk to our children very openly about certain things. And also we need to amend our laws to match current condition or current situation. And the Sri Lankan religious leaders are the number one people who just stand up and talk about even transgender issues. Recently, we want to decriminalize, and it was the Buddhist monks who were shouting. And conditional abortion is very important because when women get raped, sometimes gang rape, it is extremely difficult to get them about the baby, and they have to carry the baby for 9 months and put for adoption. Why? They should hurt their body for 9 months and then emotional pain and all those things. But they don't understand that part of it. So sometimes I wonder, are they preaching religion or something else?
And also, Shreen talked about the FGMC report. We will link it below in the comments section. Please go over it, read it, and understand how these things happen in Sri Lanka. Shreen, as you clearly mentioned, women's rights are violated by outside society, their own communities, and sometimes even within their own families. And worst of all, they're often failed by the state and even the legislative procedures in Sri Lanka. So, as an activist, and more importantly, as a woman, what is your message to young girls who are listening to us today?
So non-state actors are in the front line of violating women's rights. It can be your family. It starts with your family. When you're born as a female child, the family, in the name of protecting that child, in the name of her being the honor of the family, would start putting all the frame that box us. Then we have our school curriculum system education. We have our economic structures that are only recognize men as providers in some form, even though the Sri Lanka's backbone has been our women, whether it's garment sector or tea or migrant workers. It is the men, according to the society who earns. Then we have media, and we have various other structures around us that box the women into certain frame. So now we as young people have to question those things. I'm not saying that to rebel against your parents, but the thing is you need to have conversation. Breaking patriarchy is not easy. Patriarchy starts with where we are when we start carrying our surname, father's name, which very happily gave by British. And people keep saying that feminism came from Western countries and Western notion and all. No, we have been feminists. Our great-grandmothers have been feminists. But the thing is that certain capitalism, all those things have given us in various forms of patriarchy, masculinity in our structures. So we need to be mindful of that. And we need to have open conversation at home, these issues, and men particularly can make a huge change. Young men who are listening to this conversation can contribute to this a lot because they are also brought up in certain way to carry the burden of the family's burden of everything. So that also need to be reconstructed in some form so that we men and women as partners can move forward to build a very peaceful and also equal societies. So equality does not come only by women be shouting and howling. It has to also to come from men who has to understand various forms of struggles that women have undergone. At the same time, it is also we as women have been struggling for a very long time for various liberation, various law reforms and all. Sometimes only the benefit of it is enjoyed by the younger people. So the hard way of fighting is also need to be told. And we need to fight more, push boundaries in order to get what we need to get. It's not going to be very easy, but it's a long route. But I think we can make it happen. And social media has been contributing a lot positively towards social change. We have been talking about system change. One of the system change is changing patriarchal structures. Patriarchal way of thinking, patriarchal way of living, patriarchal way of men and women associate to each other. So that need to change.
We'd like to take this conversation in a different direction now. We want to ask Shreen about her personal experience from 35 years ago. Why we want to go in that direction is because we believe that it's so important that young people hear about these first-hand experiences. So Shreen, could you share with us your experience? What happened in October 1990?
Okay, it has not been very easy to talk about these things 35 years since that happened. So 1990, the Tamil Tigers decided to evict the Muslim population from entire northern province, starting from my hometown Mana, Jaffna, Kilinochchi, Mullaitivu, and certain part of Vavuniya. This happened purely based on the religion that we belong to, not the language we spoke or the cultural things that we shared with them. And also it was a very small population. 5% of the northern population then was the Muslims. So therefore it's about 75,000 people. So there are some places it's 24 hours. And my hometown, LTT broke both the bridge. It's an island. So the main bridge, Causeway Bridge, was broken. And also the railway bridge. And very interestingly, then the Sri Lankan government watched it. Because we were in government control area. They didn't come to rescue us. So we were caught between both. And then lots of people came by sea routes from my hometown. Others came through road, whatever the roads. That time the transport and everything is limited and all those things. It was a huge struggle for them to get out. And they didn't take anything with them. Last bit of the eviction, LTT was also very careful. Didn't allow much, about like 500 rupees and then one change of clothes, and they said to get out. So for many of us who were evicted, I was at Columbia. I was at Columbia University first year. I was reading for my business administration degree, and my family got evicted, and thereafter I couldn't go back. I know my father kept telling at his last breath also like I should go back. Somehow he died after 1 year of eviction. Luckily, government officers who got evicted had some jobs offered, but other families many of them were well-to-do, became overnight paupers. It was difficult. So many of the people came to Kalpitia using the boat from Mana to Puttalam, and some of the people who also came through the road stayed in Anuradhapura and also ended up in Puttalam because Puttalam was opening up for refugees. And to date, I see the Muslims even in camps in Puttalam. So for many of us, remembering this is very important because to resurrect the coexistence that was there before 1990. Because lots of people are now going back after the 2009 end of the war. Muslims have started going back. But still, their resettlement in the north has been hugely politicized by both politicians, the Muslim Tamil politicians from the north. For their vote base, there is a lot of divisions and struggles and all. And at the same time, it is also extremely difficult to negotiate with government officers because they don't understand why Muslims are coming back. And the work that I started is from Puttalam because I got to study because I was at the university already. But many of my age people or closer to my age people drop out of the school and didn't have the privilege to study. So immediately after my studies, I went back and I thought only way that the northern Muslims' issues can be amicably settled by reaching out to the Tamil community. And particularly the women need to reach out to the other women because the northern Muslims have been very secular. We came into the area where it is very conservative. So education was number one for the northern Muslims. Whether female or a male child, we were allowed to study and to go to university and all those things. But when we came to Puttalam, first thing I saw was child marriage. Lots of girls dropping out of school. Lots of women going abroad to earn. And women being marginalized a lot. So one of the things that I thought was to go back to the north and to talk to my sisters. I went to a convent. So my Tamil sisters were there. So we founded Mana Women's Development Federation to ensure that there is some kind of a amicable settlement for the Muslims to get back. So from that time onward, 1998, it was moving forward and we have done a lot of work bringing communities together, young people. So interestingly, this year, October 25th onward, we are having a virtual traveling kind of a photography exhibition that is going to talk about how Muslims and Tamils lived prior to 1990 and what expulsion did to the community. But we are going to talk about coexistence with the Tamil community, young men who are below 35, who were not part of the process, but they have been told very many stories that are not accurate, that are manipulative, that are politically advanced for various reasons. So we are trying to break those things.
Thank you, Shreen, for sharing that very difficult experience with us. This is what brought you to activism. Can we talk a little bit about your journey there?
Bit difficult also. So I was first year, completed first year, second year, I was moving forward to second year when this happened. And then within 1 year, my father died. So like I needed to take the responsibility. I had 3 younger brothers and we became refugees overnight. No? So I needed to earn and put the family right. And then I went to Puttalam. And when I went there, couple of things that I touched me. The way that women were living in refugee camp and resisting. So one of the things that I saw is anti-corruption action those women did. So when I was going into the refugee camp, they were burning the rice bags.
Okay.
So I thought, poor people, why? I mean, rice is important for them now. So I went and asked few of them, why are you burning the rice? They said, these are rotten rice. These are rice that is not, that cannot be consumed. We have a ration card. Somebody is pocketing out the money. And for this ration, we get this low quality rice that is not good to cook. So I thought they didn't have rice to cook also. But at the same time, they were burning and protesting in front of that cooperative shop that is just in front of the, I think, Salton camp, number 1 or number 2, I can't remember. They had Salton camp in Puttalam, the salt manufacturing areas. They were burning that. So that was an eye-opener to me. Then I went to the north, and then one of the things that I noticed in the north is many women came to talk about their children. They were very nervous to talk about it, but at the same time, they wanted to tell somebody's story. One hand, they were bombarded, they were chased out from their areas. The state military has been targeting them, and they are on the run all the time. We only got evicted once. They have been getting evicted many times by the Sri Lankan state apparatus. But still, they were able to talk about child recruitment. They came and said, we have given one child, but now we have to give the other child also. So they were talking about their reproduction in the context of war. And that's what we see now in Gaza. Children are being killed, right? So that was really moving, that women were able to open up in some form to say no to weaponization. So that made me to think, maybe on this hand, child marriage is happening. Women are resisting corrupt rulers and corrupt administrators. On the other hand, there is a war and there's a lot of calamity. But still, they were talking about something that other women would not talk about, right? Out of fear or out of being loyal to certain things. But these women were talking about it. So then I thought, we should do something about it, right? Because I was in a privileged situation at that point of time and came to Colombo, educated myself and all those things. So that's when I joined Canadian CEDA and then started working on going back to the north first thing and talking to other colleagues, other friends there, and then founding women's groups.
That is such a moving life journey, as you have shown so much resilience throughout the years, especially with your work and even after going through such incidences and difficulties in life. My next question is, Shreen, you've been working with these communities who went through the expulsion and who are probably who went back again to Mana and they had to restart their life. What is their experience like? What is this relocation looking like for them, and how has it affected their lives?
It's not easy because, as I told you, the Northern Muslims' return has been politicized by both politicians. So, and also the civil administration became mono-ethnic after the eviction of the Muslims. And much of our claim to land or common areas, spaces and villages either got militarized or used for the resettlement of the Tamil community. So it's extremely difficult. Either you are standing against the military with regard to militarization, or standing against the very community that has suffered of the war, right? So the negotiation is very, very delicate. Say, for example, Musali DS division in Mana has had the large number of Muslims. It has 478 square kilometers when the Muslims were evicted. Now we have 78 square kilometers only, within which the returning Muslims and returning Tamils also have to coexist. The rest of it is taken by Navy and for Wilpathu jungle.
Okay.
right? Many villages have disappeared in the process, 35 years, right? Recently, we went to places where the houses are hanging on the roots of the tree, right? So for women to go back and start from scratch, it's extremely difficult. Many of these women who are returning back are without their male members of the family. They are all dead and gone. Or for some reason, they find it on their own to go and navigate these resettlement processes. And many who are returning are going for livelihood because they don't have any livelihood in other areas. So it's not easy to negotiate, but slowly, steadily, they are mobilizing themselves, they are establishing. Recently in Jaffna, I also saw about 14 family being resettled by a particular politician without thinking about those women's basic needs like toilet. So these are face-covered women going to toilet in a jungle, right? So it's also not easy. The land has been a very contagious issue in the north, primarily because there's a large militarization and people have moved away for a prolonged period of time. Many are abroad and all. So when you go back, either somebody is staying there or somebody has taken over. And then for you to negotiate, in Sri Lankan legal system, if you go to court with regard to property, it takes ages. Nobody has that money. And then sometimes common areas also have been taken away. Say, for example, when you talk about livelihood, where the Muslim fisher folks use the fishing area or where they park their boat and nets, and those have been used by the Tamils. Now they are going back and asking for it. Then there is tension. Then also like certain areas, certain politicians, without understanding the sensitivity of the communities who are living there, have taken money from some countries and established houses, which people are not even living, right? Then there is tension, resource competition and all those things. With all these things in that, still women are negotiating and trying to see how we go back. Even this initiative that I talk about, that we go and talk to Tamil younger generation of people about how we coexisted in 1990, came from women, that we need to resurrect the past peaceful coexistence between the two communities so that we can move forward as northern community, Tamil-speaking community, and negotiate with the state strongly.
Thank you, Shreen. Also, to end today's conversation, can you share a little message for all of our listeners about why living in coexistence matters, why we should maintain harmony within our communities? Can we end on that note?
Okay, starting from patriarchy, family, to the communities that we belong, to the nation and wherever we live. It's all created identities, right? So when we are born, multiple identities are thrust on us and we cling on to those identities very strongly. And for some reason, identity is a good, important thing. But at some point, we need to see the human identity and who I am, right? So coexistence is all about accepting that human identity, that we are all part of this human identity. We are here to be tolerant, be inclusive, be peaceful and nice to each other in some form. And we should start from our homes. But the thing is, the structures that are being put on us is highly problematic. It's oppressive. So it's all about countering that structure. While countering, we also have to see how we have to tolerate each other and how we respect each other's identity and what the background that they are coming from, and also to give in the space that each of them can thrive in that space. So that's why coexistence is very important.
Thank you, Shreen. Thank you not just for shining a light on all of these critical issues and bringing them to our attention, but also for the incredible work that you have been doing and the unwavering bravery in this decades-long fight that you have been continuing for justice and reform. So thank you once again for being with us. And now, some of you who are listening to us, you might wonder why we are talking about incidents that took place 35 years ago. Why do we keep focusing on the past? You might ask us. But here is one single compelling thought that we want to leave with you. We can't walk forward if we don't know where we have been. That's what we want to remind you. Understanding the expulsions, the decades of displacement, and also generational trauma isn't just about being hung up on the past. It's essential for us to fully grasp the urgency of today's battle. So, we invite you to dig deeper. Please visit the Museum of Religious Freedom. Check out the powerful resources we have on the Minor Matters website as well. Both links will be on the caption. Finally, thank you so much for tuning into the Minor Matters podcast, where we get real about what it means to believe, belong, and live freely. So until next time, let's keep the conversation going, because freedom of religion or belief matters in Sri Lanka and beyond.